Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Sammons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Marc Meuseler, founder of Health Businesses, Coaches and Closers. Marc works with health and coaching businesses to help them scale revenue and improve one of the most critical parts of any business, sales and conversion. Through his company, he provides trained closers and proven systems to help turn leads into high-ticket clients, allowing founders to step away from day-to-day sales. Marc, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Marc, with all of my guests, I do like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up Health Businesses, Coaches and Closers, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, so I was in the Navy for 20 years where I was doing chemistry on nuclear reactors on aircraft carriers, leading a team of people forward deployed and making sure that everything was operating correctly and that the ship could complete its mission. Did that for 20 years, retired. I happened to retire right at the beginning of COVID, so just
Wow.
before. So I was interviewing for a lot of engineering jobs and got the phone call, hey, we're not coming in tomorrow. So kind of pivoted a little bit and started working with a company that was selling health programs, telehealth, which was perfect timing for that. They were just starting up. Came on as a salesperson and quickly did very well at that and kind of found like, oh, this is something that I'm good at, and helped that company grow, moved up the ranks as we continued to grow. And got to a point, I was there about 6 years, got to a point after a couple of years where I was running the entire sales team, developing the processes, the operating procedures, training, hiring, everything that goes along with running that sales team. And we got to be pretty successful. So we were what is now, I think, the number one kind of telehealth program in the country. And then got a lot of questions from friends of kind of the owners and different doctors and practitioners on how they could run their sales team, and try to give them some tips along the way, but it wasn't necessarily their wheelhouse. So many times I got the question, is there any way you could just do this for me? Right. And so eventually I found the right time, like, okay, maybe it's time to take this next step and move into doing that. So that's what
Love
we're
it.
doing here, is helping all these different doctors and practitioners stand up and run their sales teams.
Yeah, I love that because naturally sales isn't a skill that obviously comes for everybody. It's something you do either have to very much work at or in most people's cases pass on to somebody else that is very good at that in their own business. So you are providing them with that support. But you obviously took to it like a duck to water, having to grow through that industry in such a short amount of time, which was really, really cool. And did you always have a little bit of an ambition to be an entrepreneur, or was that just something that developed as you saw the gap that you could fill?
It's something that sort of developed along the way, right? When you're driving all the sales and you're seeing
Hmm.
the amount of revenue you're bringing in, 5, $6 million a month, right? And just as anybody that works in any position, you're getting paid now, whether it's being paid well or not,
Yeah.
it's just a small piece of the pie, right? And you're not going to truly um, see the fruits of your labor unless you own it. So it was the right time and the right step for me to get into a place where now all that work and all that learning that I got along the way, I could then apply to where I would be receiving the majority of that. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And as you say, in sales, because it is like the biggest driver in any business, without the sales aspect, you're not going to get many clients through that door. So it is such a big part, and you do see those numbers coming in and out. So as you say, when you become a founder, you kind of get the whole piece of that pie. You don't just get the sliver coming in. That whole thing is yours to take home. So it's a great aspect moving into that, and it's so great that you just kind of dove in feet first and was like, I'm ready to take this plunge and move forward from there.
Right.
So let's dive into health business coaches and closers a little bit more, just so the listeners can have some context moving forward. So I'm assuming this is going to be a null and void question based on the name of the company, but who would you say like is your ideal client? Like Mark, who is it you very, very much love to work with the most? And then from there, how is it you help them? And how do you support them along their own journey?
Yeah, so currently it is those in kind of that industry. When we first started up, there were several accounts that we took on that had some processes in place. We're already selling, but maybe not at the level they wanted to. So
Cool.
I could come in, help them structure operating procedures, make sure that we're hiring the right type of people, and in a way that you can scale. Because our biggest one that we brought on, they were using doctors to meet with these people and sell them the program, which was great. However, it's not a scalable
Yeah.
process. And sometimes they're a little weary of moving on to using salespeople for that position. But with kind of that track record that I had at the previous company, was able to show like we can do this without you having to have a doctor do it every time. So coming on, developing those processes, hiring the right type of person with the right mindset and the right drive that's going to be successful and also represent them appropriately. So come on doing that, as well as helping other doctors and practitioners that have these great programs and these great ideas to help people, mostly in that functional medicine space, to get them off of medication and get them truly healthy, help them get established, and so that they can reach more people. And ultimately, everyone's goal here is to get as many people healthy as possible. So currently, that's what we're working with. It is something that um, I've had some other people reach out to. Is there any way you could sell for this or sell for that? So in the future, we will look at kind of opening up outside of the health space, but that it's been a great place to start. Um, it's a place where I say everybody wins, right? So they make a little investment that's actually going to save them money in the long run, get them healthy, and then everybody can make a little money doing it as well.
Yeah, it's a very impactful like area of business to be in as well because you are having that trickle down effect. So even as you say, like the businesses get the impact, but also the clients because the more people they're helping with their efforts, the better their health, the better their life is going to be. So it's a really nice avenue. And just having that ICP that you've got is a great niche to be in as well because naturally using doctors for salespeople, yes, they're very knowledgeable, but as sometimes in selling, you don't have to be so knowledgeable. It's more about the connection you make with people, how you can actually help them, and obviously motivate them to make the right choice for themselves as well. So there are some nuances coming into it. Funnily enough, I actually worked within the health sector on part of the sales team, so I know exactly what kind of mindset they have coming into it as well, where they do want to be so informational, make sure people are on that right page. It's just about that balance between the two. So you can actually provide them with a sales team, but then do you also help like the founders or the doctors kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like, uh, it's completely left my brain. Do you help the founders or the doctors with that role themselves? So creating that sales skill for themselves.
Not necessarily
Okay.
selling themselves, but helping them structure their programs in a way that are going to
Awesome.
be successful,
Nice.
letting them know like here's this structure of a program that I see has a lot of success. So they have a lot of good techniques, but how to put that together in maybe a 4 to 6 month program that's really going
Yeah.
to drive results, right? And the other beauty of selling that is you can really have that conviction behind it because you see the results that people have. They've lost weight, they're sleeping better, they're feeling great, they're off of medications. And so it can be a really great thing to sell. You're not just selling another widget to somebody, right? That's not going to have a big impact on their life. This will have a big impact on not only their life, but maybe their children's lives or their spouse and things like that. So it's a really good thing to get behind.
Yeah, beautiful. So helping with that offer validation as well, make sure it's hitting those right people, you're getting it on point. And it's actually like something that's working well, especially I find within the health sector, it's very hard to create an offer that is scalable in a sense that it's predictable for you to move forward and like alleviate a lot of time on their calendar as well. Naturally, it's a very, very busy sector. So helping with that end must help with running the business as well. And do you very much get in the trenches, or like, what is your style, your approach when it comes to coaching?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm meeting with them, the salespeople one-on-one, group
Excellent.
coaching, call reviews, um, really making sure that it takes those touch points to, especially early on, to make sure that they're developing good habits, that they're
Yeah,
not saying, and in this health space, to be careful on some of the verbiage you're using, right? Like we're not curing anything. We got to be very careful about
very
the
important.
some of the
Yeah.
language you use. So make sure that they're following a structure. I do have a very good structure that's laid out to take that customer through the journey to get them to a place where they understand that their health is the priority, right? Because just as in any sales, it comes down to finances. And so if someone doesn't view themselves as a priority, as say maybe something that happens to their car or to their house, right? They won't find the finance. Oh, I don't have that. But if something happened to something that was a priority, they would find that. So getting
100.
them to understand that priority, building the gap from where they are going with their health versus where they want to be, and then get again tying in our conviction, like this program, if you invest in this program, it will change not only the trajectory of your health, but your life.
Yeah, beautiful. So providing with those assets, and that's so important when it does come to selling. As you say, it's like one of those objections that people come with the most is their readiness, especially when it does come to health. Thinking about it, like within the health sector, even if you go into like fitness and nutrition, people are very, very wary of spending money on themselves compared to other things in their life. So it is about kind of motivating them within that right decision as well. And as you say, using the right language and the right jargon along the way is so important within that field. Now, one thing I'm very curious to find out, Mark, naturally, it's a very busy world at the moment. So, like, in terms of marketing, like, what is working well for you in just finding those right people to work with? Like, what channels or methods are you really finding most success at the moment?
Yeah, so my clients are the doctors and practitioners, right? So there is a trend in the US towards getting away from Western medicine, right?
Yeah.
So there are and in the US, unfortunately, there are a lot of sick people out there. So there's no shortage of clients for the doctors and practitioners, which means I have a lot of people that are developing these programs, especially with the success of some other ones that are out there.
Cool.
They're eager to get into the space. So um, currently, I am not necessarily marketing. However, referrals are our biggest driver for the success that we've had, especially early on. We've only been doing this for about 6 months, but we are growing rapidly. Uh,
Nice.
so I'm not necessarily having to market for those doctors or practitioners, but I do help them in their marketing as far as what I see work in certain places and making sure that they do represent themselves with that transparency in marketing what this is for, and really making sure that people know what they're coming into, uh,
Hmm.
and they're buying these consultations with us, that it is to figure out a path forward. If it's a good fit, hey, we have a program that can really help change your life around.
Beautiful. So yeah, as you say yourself, you're still in the kind of those early phases. So I mean, referrals, just so kudos to work that you are doing so far. If you can build a nice little system on that to start with, not a lot of founders can. So that's a beautiful way to start business. And then from there, obviously helping your clients with that marketing aspect. So do you help them set up like the funnels and the channels and just make that offer a little bit more attractive, or is it more based in that messaging of the offer? So they are positioned as that specialist in their field and very much attracting that right kind of avatar.
Yeah, so I'm much more on the back end of the sales part of
Cool.
it, and then just providing the feedback for
Beautiful.
what we're seeing and what the clients are expecting when they come in, and just feeding that back into the front end of the funnel. But
Nice.
typically, they're working with they have a marketing person or a marketing company that's building all the funnels and things out for them.
Beautiful. But yeah, as you say, especially in the sales, you are kind of the front end of that line. You're hearing a lot of the customer feedback on the calls and stuff, so you can relay that through and make sure it's getting on the marketing. So they are just hitting that kind of person, which is a really cool aspect as well, that double-edged sword coming into it. And I take it, are you still pretty much a solopreneur yourself at the moment, or do you have a team that are helping you kind of cover some of your hats within the business?
It's pretty much me at the moment. I do have help on the kind of the back end of
Cool.
logistics and payroll and those sorts of things, right? but it's me meeting with the different doctors and practitioners, as well as running the salespeople for them. And so that's something that very soon here we're going to look to scale kind of internally as well.
Love it. Beautiful. So that's on the horizon for yourself, is growing that team. And I suppose with that being said, like what are the visions or the aspirations you have for the company moving forward? You know, maybe when you think of the next 6, 12 months, what are those goals or those targets you're hopefully looking forward to achieving?
Yeah, so currently we have 15 different doctors and practitioners that are on. At the moment, we only have 3 that are selling, right? The other ones are still in development. So it is something that is manageable by myself right now. Over the next 3 to 6 months, these other ones are all going to be coming on. So I will need people in place that maybe I've worked with before, or somebody that's really hungry and knows the space that can come in and help do some of the day-to-day call reviews, managing the teams, so that I can work mostly with the doctors and just kind of
Nice.
take one step further back and make sure that everything else is running appropriately, and continue every month. We're adding more accounts with different doctors, and it's going to continue to grow. So make sure that I'm scaling appropriately, that I'm not letting anything fall off, right? And so I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck, is they want to do it all themselves because they don't have the trust in somebody else to do it.
True.
But then you hinder how much you can grow, right? So I want to make sure that I'm doing that appropriately, and not kind of tying myself to having to do everything on my own.
Yeah, beautiful. And such a great way to look at it, because as you say, most founders they either get stuck in the weeds and just like leave themselves with an overgrown job, or they end up hitting that invisible ceiling when it comes to fulfillment because they are kind of covering the other role themselves and they can't keep up with that aspect. So yeah, bringing on another coach that can help with those, I suppose, the lower ends, as you say, with core reviews and just running that back of the team. And then for you yourself, really focusing what you need to do, and that whole thing will run itself. And where are you probably finding like the biggest challenge for yourself at the moment, either within the business or even taking those next steps for yourself?
Just the biggest challenge is making sure that the doctors are getting up and running in a time that they need to. A lot of times, that expectation of how fast they can get their program up and running is a little shorter than what it necessarily does take to do. Um, so that, as well as just making sure that we're finding the right salespeople that are really driven, right? My thing is, I always like somebody to come in and say, what's the maximum I'm allowed to do versus what's the minimum I have to do, right? If you're asking me that question, you're probably probably not the right fit. I'm looking for people that are really driven, and so just finding those that can be time consuming to run all
Yeah.
those interviews and things like that as we grow. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. And as you say, you're putting your trust in them as well if you are placing them into other businesses. So you do want to make sure that they're a good representation for yourself as well. Moving forward, that is a big part to play. And Mark, I have one final question to ask you. So, if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
I would say whatever you, and this is something that I speak to people on frequently now that I've kind of found in my own thing, is whatever you're doing, whatever you enjoy doing, or whatever you're currently working on, that's kind of going to be your career path. Figure out a way for you to own it, because you are not going to make any type of real money working for someone else, right? So whether it's a career you really want to do, or if that's a career path you've chosen, you work for somebody that somewhere along the line said, I'm going to own this. So figure out a way that you can own it too, and you can really drive it. Um, it's much more enjoyable to be working on something where you see the real fruits of your labor, and you're much more willing to put the time in, and then it's rewarding as well.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And Mark, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
Currently, the best way is to just look me up on LinkedIn. All my information is available there. We'll have a website coming out soon as well.
Amazing stuff. And thank you again, Mark. I really appreciate your time today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's conversation, please be sure to go and check out Marc Meuseler, as he just said, drop him a message on LinkedIn. I'm sure he would love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales, and marketing efforts. Visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we'll see you on the next one.